Hello, Namaste, Adab. Welcome to another episode of KSP VIEW. I've often heard, being in the film industry and television industry, that content is the king, which means, irrespective of platform, if somebody can deliver a good story, that will be instant hit. I'm not very sure if this can be made as a blanket statement, but when it comes to a guy called Neeraj Pandey, I think it's largely successful because he made a great debut in Wednesday, which took the country by storm. The kind of storytelling he did. And he has a company called Friday Film Works, where he made several movies after Wednesday. Most of them were big hits. And then he ventured into the OTT platform and he did Op Special, which according to me is one of the best series on the OTT platform. So he knew, he's a master, if you ask me, the champion who can tell the story in any platform he does. They have a digital arm. It's called Friday Storytellers. And the latest movie which was hit on Netflix yesterday is called Sikandar Ka Muqaddar. Let me try to give the gist of the story without being a spoilsport. The story begins in a big mall where the diamond heist is happening. All the culprits are killed on a tip-off, and then enters Jimmy Shergill. Okay, he is a cop, he's a super cop, and he suspects three people basing on their movements, and he calls that he goes always on instinct, and his instinct is never wrong. And he is supposedly having a 100% success rate when it comes to any investigations of this kind. And one of the three guys, one is the Sikandar, the character Sikandar, which is played by Avinash Tiwari, who recently has a big glory, in the success of Laila Majnu when it was re-released because of him and Tripti's popularity. And Tamanna, who of late has done many item songs, and probably this is a very important role for her, and she really reflected a lot of vulnerability that she has as a character. And then there is an accountant. The minute Jimmy Shergill suspects these three guys, he wants the custody in the police station. And the judges grant 7 days, but they can't find anything. And they give an additional 7 days. And after that, somewhere Jimmy Shergill goes into an oblivion. He is not in the forefront. Then suddenly, a lot of things happen in the life of Sikandar, which is played by Avinash Tiwari. And he is forced to run away from this country and go to Abu Dhabi and make a career out of it. And then the story shifts to 15 years later. Okay, it shifts probably in less than 1 hour. From there, Jimmy Shergill faces two big turmoils in his life. One is he is handed over the divorce by the court on the same day he is asked to leave from the office. He is terminated from the services, and his boss says, "You are already suspended. Termination was not very tough for us, and you were never a super cop after the 15 years." Which means it gives audience a gist saying that somewhere he has lost the game. But no, it can't happen with Neeraj Pandey. The story actually begins from there. He is sitting in a pub and having endless number of drinks. The bartender is frustrated. The owner comes in and asks him, and Jimmy Shergill asks the owner, "Am I a good guy or a bad guy?" He says, "Sir, because you're asking me honestly, I'm telling you you're a terrible guy." So basically, it's again a story of a chore and police. Endless number of stories have come, but this has got a slight differentiation in terms of narration, in terms of the story itself. Because as a child, I always liked the characters played by the chore. For instance, if you take Doom 1, 2 and 3, it's always the antagonist who we like the most, be it John Abraham, be it Hrithik Roshan or Amir Khan. And again, in the Dawn, it was Shah Rukh Khan's negativity which attracted us. Likewise, in this story, I will not tell you whether the cop Jimmy Shergill is right or whether Avinash Tiwari, who plays Sikandar, is right. And that's the beauty of the story. Largely, the movie gets into the battle between Jimmy Shergill, who is a cop, and the suspect thief, okay, as it runs in the movie, is Avinash Tiwari. And when Jimmy Shergill, he gives up, he says, "Everything is gone from my life." He decides to, through some contact, call Sikandar and says, "I am defeated. Okay, I lost the case and I want to apologize." He reminds him, he says, "When I was in the jail, when you were beating me up black and blue, I made only one request and I took a promise and I asked you, the day you feel apologetic, because I'm very innocent and I'm not guilty, you should look into my eyes and apologize." So Avinash Tiwari reminds him of that. So they have a meeting, they sit together in the same bar opposite to each other, and from there, the story takes a big turn. Then Jimmy Sherrill actually asks him to narrate what all happened in the last 15 years. Why did he have to go to Abu Dhabi and all that? From his point of view, the story makes us feel that he is not a culprit, he is a good guy. But then, as he leaves, Jimmy Sherrill says, "Come back, the story is still not over." And even on the frame of the screen, it says the end, and then it says, "Oops, it's not the end." And then the second point of view comes from the point of view of Jimmy Shergill. And I will not tell the story beyond this, but I must tell you that the original pace in which Neeraj communicates is not there in this movie, and it's lacking. But still, I have seen one style of Neeraj, which is the way he uses the music, okay, the way he builds the tempo. He is still not absent in this, but it doesn't match his earlier works, be it OTT or movies. Because what happens is it gives a slight feeler as if there is a sequel to this movie, because at one point Avinash Tiwari tells Jimmy Shergill that let's have a deal, and the camera very beautifully zooms up and goes to a top angle, and either they'll strike a deal, and what has happened to Tamanna, okay, what exactly is the case, who has got the diamonds, and all that, I cannot reveal, isn't it? Because Neeraj Pandey, I feel, is one guy who knows the showbiz, okay? Okay, but I think Neeraj Pandey is the one who has mastered the way of storytelling, be it OTT series or be it OTT movies or the theatrical films. Each one needs a separate focus, a separate writing, and a separate method of storytelling. I think Neeraj Pandey has mastered all three, and hats off to him. But if someone asks me a question, since this movie is so good, does it fit into a theatre movie? No, I would say no, because when you go to theatre, the expectations are very different. This is a movie which also has a feel of mid 80s and late 70s of Hindi movies, okay, where the story forms the primordial importance, and that's a hero. And it's very well essayed by these three great protagonists, which is Tamanna, Avinash Tiwari, and Jimmy Shergill. So don't miss this movie on the weekend. Stock enough of your eatables, popcorn, and it's a family viewing. There are hardly any violence. There is no sexual content. It's a beautiful story. Don't miss it. And I'll see you again in my next episode. Until then, signing off, KSP View.